That's why there's an awkward pause in the middle of this. All right, everybody. So, thank you for joining me here today. It's time for Astrology in the News. And of course, today is March 8th, 2018. And without further ado, time for Yogic Wisdom of the Day. When you realize how perfect everything is, you will tilt your head back and laugh at the sky. And this is from the great Buddha. Okay, so not necessarily a yogic quote, but it's Eastern wisdom. And of course, the sky will laugh back at you as a bird shits in your eye. So, anyway, it's funny stuff, right? Speaking of things falling from the sky, the Chinese space station is set to crash into the Earth this weekend. And I tell you, man, that happens when you get something that's built by Apple. Because I'm sure they used Apple parts and everything like that to put that thing together. But all kidding aside, I'm actually fairly concerned about this because, and if you're just joining me here from Periscope, you will see was in my April predictions. You can see the Sun and Mercury are tightly conjunct here in the sign of Pisces. Saturn and Mars are tightly, like almost as tight as they can get, conjunct here in the sign of Sagittarius, and these two are square each other, like by about 3 degrees. This is actually a pretty difficult combination, and Mercury is already retrograde. So I'm really concerned that this, hey, what's up, CTC? Thank you for joining me. See, this time I can actually see you type here. So yeah, I like to interact with the people as I do my YouTube broadcast. So if you don't like it, so anyway, yeah, CTC he's one of my Periscope followers, which I'm very, very grateful. And thank you for joining me here, CTC. So anyway, going back to this chart, the Sun and Mercury are conjunct, and let's see, and Saturn and Mars are conjunct here, and they're going to be forming a square, and that's actually a fairly difficult combination. So I'm fairly concerned about this. This is going to be Easter weekend, so we're talking about March 31st, April 1st, and April 2nd. Then after that, these planets are going to start to pull away from each other, especially the Sun, because it moves, well, it doesn't move as fast as Mercury, but it moves fast enough that it's going to break the conjunction. So I'm telling everybody, please be very careful this weekend, because I look at this and it's kind of like, all right. So that's all the doom and gloom I have for like right now. But anyway, hey, if you didn't catch it, Roseanne, the relaunch was a success. I actually watched it. I'm kind of a big Roseanne fan, but I don't know. But it's good to see something do so successful. I think it was like 20 million viewers. But anyway, they shot her off to take out the space station because it was a relaunch. Ah, that's funny shit, dude. I don't care what you say. Roseanne's chart. So I actually have an accurate birth time for Roseanne. Believe it or not, she was born in Salt Lake City, and she grew up Mormon. So I really wonder if this has a lot to do with her religious beliefs. But anyway, what does Roseanne have going on for her? So Roseanne Barr, comedian. Usually with a comedian, we look to the third house. Usually good comedians are Aquarians, believe it or not. Aquarians are actually pretty funny people. A little bit detached, but they know how to make people yuck it up. So if this were a Western chart, her ascendant would probably be firmly be in Aquarius. Now, she has a retrograde Jupiter here in Aries. Moon is fairly well placed. Actually, it's exalted in the sign of Taurus. That's a good placement, actually. The moon does very well, especially there in the 5th house. Actually, Barack Obama, CTC, you're not doing, man. So Barack Obama actually has this combination too. So this is actually in the nakshatra of Rohini, I think. No, actually, it may not be in Rohini. I think it's on the board. Anyway, it's still a very good placement for the moon. Let's see, any fixed stars that are major. Acrux, nothing too major. Let's see, then her sun is here. Actually, her sun is debilitated in the sign of Libra. I wouldn't have expected that. Venus is conjunct Mercury here in the sign of Scorpio, and then Mars. Mars in the 12th house in the sign of Sagittarius. Very interesting. So, looking at her chart, it's a little bit difficult to see where she got her success. I mean, the exalted moon is very good. Jupiter in the sign of Aries is well placed. Oh, here it is. There's a Parvatan Yoga, and this is where how do I put it? It's like one planet they exchange signs. So Mars rules Aries and Jupiter rules Sagittarius. So she has this 12th and 4th house exchange, which means that somebody can suffer losses at home, but sometimes too they can make up for it by having extra gains too. And Aries, really shows somebody that's a hard worker. So good for Roseanne. Moving on. Ecuador cut off Julian Assange's internet access. Oh, poor Julian, poor guy. Anyway, well, really what happened here is the alpaca who ran it just went on strike. Look at that angry ass thing. It's probably mana. It's underpaid in Ecuador, spitting. Anyway, Julian's chart. So Julian, let's see. Right now, he's not going through any major transits, but he actually one of the worst transits that he was going through is his ascendant, his Neptune, and Jupiter are all in the sign of Scorpio here, and Scorpio was Saturn was transiting Scorpio a couple years ago. So this can kind of put somebody in an area of isolation. And if you kind of look at Saturn here is in the seventh house of relationships, so this is somebody that's probably going to live an isolated life because he has a little bit of difficulty maintaining relationships with other people. Let's see other things with in his chart. Venus and Sun in the sign of Gemini. Now, when we talk about secrets and giving away secrets and stuff like that, really we look to the sign of Scorpio. Scorpio is all about finding secrets. That's like hidden secrets, the occult, things, trying to discover things that people like want to know about. So really people that have a lot of good placements in Scorpio make great investigative journalists. They also are very good, at astrology and occult practices. Now, his Mars is also exalted here. So what's going to be interesting to see what happens with Assange is if when Mars goes into his exalted sign of Capricorn and then goes retrograde. So this is actually going to be in a sign of, in the third house, in the house of writing. So I'm going to be very interested to see if Mr. Assange publishes anything this summer or this fall, because since Mars is going to be in that sign for such a long time, conjunct K2, I'm really wondering what's going to happen with him. So that's just the basis of his chart. So anyway, everybody, thank you for joining me today. Let's see, CTS admin. I hope everything is okay for you. So hey, if you want to book a consultation, go ahead and click on one of the links below, and I will be happy to communicate with you. Otherwise, have a great day, and thank you for joining me here on the YouTubes.